Now, Caolan, I've got you here. You're in. Oh, click when live for stream info. Oh,
Let's have a
oh.
look.
So at the moment nobody is watching. But it is
Maybe
streaming.
change the title to, let me see,
I
with
think
Caolan
I
and her
think
son.
I'm not sure where the title bit has gone to now.
I
I've
think it's
lost
just
that
kind of
bit.
people
Oh no, we've got at
work
least
quite
one
well. I
person
can
there.
see it.
There we are. Let's leave it like this. I think I think so. Look, I've got Caolan Robertson here from Kherson.
Oh,
Are we allowed to say this? You were literally at the front. Oh no, you're from Kharkiv. Kharkiv, sorry.
no, sorry, it's just cut out there for ages. I'm a 5-minute walk to the river. I'm in the middle of Kherson. I'm in the center of
You're
Kherson
in
right now.
Kherson, right? But you've been there before, haven't you?
I've never stayed here, but I've been here for the Eastern Front, the documentary I made with John Sweeney last year. But I couldn't bring myself to stay here for longer than a few hours because the city was being hit 24/7 constantly, and it's gotten significantly worse. But I'm now here for a few nights. I'm so close to the Russians that I tried to pay for some water when I arrived, and my phone blocked the transaction because it thought it was in Russia. And I had to call my bank and tell them I wasn't in Russia, and they geolocated me to Russia because I am less than a mile from the Russians. So they
I
wouldn't let
I
me buy the water.
I'm panicking for you, um, Colin, but that's so you don't have to do it. But it's
Yes, you can do
it
that for
is
me.
it is terrifying, and I think I think you're remarkable. But tell me, what is it like now?
Well,
In
I'm here to
tell me,
do
go on.
daily reports for my channel and write articles for Byline Times about this. So there's a lot of stuff to be done. It's like unlike anything I've ever seen in Ukraine. The city has been eroded in the purest form of that term. When I was here last year, this is a city where the Russians occupied for 8 months. The Ukrainians pushed them back south of the river. Imagine this city is like London, where the river divides the River Thames. The Ukrainians managed to push the Russians back from Mykolaiv through this city, and as the Russians were running, they blew all the bridges, and the bridges are all destroyed here, and they set up camp at the other side of the river, which is just a 5-minute walk from here to the riverbank, and they started pounding the city every single day. The city had a population of 250,000 people. When I was last year, it was 60,000. I don't expect it's more than 10 now. And slowly they have eroded everything in the city. There's nothing left here. There's a couple of supermarkets. There's nowhere to buy anything. The Today I went to the Kherson Cultural Arts Center, which is a beautiful place where young children for the last 20 years have learned how to perform plays and music and dance. And the Russians put a guide bomb into it and blew it up, and there was pianos blown out windows landing in the street with fire surrounding them. I filmed all of that. Um, and as I was leaving the cultural center, which was completely destroyed, there was just a stage in the middle of an auditorium with sunlight illuminating it because it's the hole in the roof. Two drones started chasing us and chasing our car. So our driver had to go at about 100 miles an hour through the city, zigzagging between the lanes of the street. There's no other cars here. Basically, there's no one driving in the city because they're indiscriminately killing people with drones. So we had to like race away from the drone. Um, it's like Mad Max here. It's indescribable. Now,
Where did the drones land?
So the drones here, they're flown from the Russian side. They're small homemade drones or the DJI Mavic drones, and they
Yeah.
have a release mechanism in them and they drop grenades. They drop them on civilians, police officers, journalists. So I've got my journalist stuff here, but I couldn't wear it because it will make me more of a target. So I actually had to make this decision of, despite having all the armor, I actually can't wear it. So I walk around like in a t-shirt, um, which is really weird, and it's meant to be the opposite of what you do when you're in a war zone. So um, because it makes you more of a target. And
Because journalists are being targeted by the
yeah, so
Russians.
I haven't worn it. I mean, I brought it with me because the press officer in Ukraine and the military kind of demand and expect you to wear it as a journalist here as part of your accreditation. So I kind of should, and I do sometimes. But if you're somewhere like where I was earlier, which is basically overlooking the river, we could see the Russian positions. Then I would take that shit off immediately because it reveals, it makes you an instant target. So. Oh, this is wild. I never thought I would really stay in Kherson. It's been extremely noisy. Where I am now, all of the windows, well, there's one window left, it's taped up. But all the other windows in this side of the building is all cardboard now, and um, it's all boarded up. There's holes in the wall in this room from shrapnel that's flown through here. The whole city is destroyed. It's been eroded beyond comprehension, and there's nobody left here, really. I mean, I imagine there's military left, but it is what the Russians do is they slowly wear down and erode and destroy everything. I was walking through the city a couple of hours ago before curfew kicked in. Curfew's now it's at 8 p.m. here, which is annoying, 12
Hmm.
hours a day. And it was high rises all around us, and there wasn't a single light. It was pitch black. I was tripping over curbs, in the town square because the Russians are nearby, and where the Russians are nearby, there's only darkness that follows. So this place is crazy. This is the craziest place I think I've ever been. This is more dramatic than the last time I was here. Um, and it's constant. Like the building was shaking earlier when I checked in. Like the building shaking, and they don't do air raid sirens anymore. There's no point because they would never turn them off. It's every 30 seconds there's an explosion or a drone. So there's no air alert system. They got rid of it. It would become pointless.
Are there any shelters?
There are shelters. There are some bomb shelters near the bus stops. Um, because the Russians like to target people waiting for buses because they like to kill any groups of people standing outside in public. Um,
Yeah.
there's probably a bomb shelter in this building. I don't know, but again, this is an old Soviet building. It's pretty run down. This is a kind of fucked up old part of the of Kherson. But yeah, this building has been hit probably 50 times in the last few months. This building has shown is half destroyed, but it's you can't stay in hotel. There's one hotel in the city left, and that hotel is not advisable to stay in, and it's been hit constantly. So the only way you can really live in Kherson is through fixers that can give you apartments that make it seem like you're just an old resident. But this is a tall building. I'm not going to say what floor I'm on, but
No, please don't.
this build. No, I won't. This is in Odessa. This building is empty. There's no one here, and it's a tall building. There's no one in this building.
Uh, there's a
So
the Russians have advanced into a place called Grigorovka today,
Grigorovka.
and yeah, it's fairly insignificant, which is what the people in Ukraine have said. Um, but I believe,
Where is this? Is this in the east?
yeah, I think it is. Yes.
Here.
There's and there's a high rise flat bombed, three killed. Is that in
Well, the
Kharkiv?
Russians have been destroying everything. I mean, they hit Kharkiv like there was no tomorrow. In the last few days, they destroyed massive amounts of infrastructure and buildings in civilian areas there. We saw this. It looked like Dnipro. Zaporizhia is
Hmm.
being hit like there's no tomorrow. The Russians
Well,
are
that's that
furious that the West.
that's worrying.
Yeah, the Russians are furious that the West have taken out their ammunition storages. That's where their flashy
Yeah.
new North Korean missiles were stored. So they're trying to retaliate, and the only way they know to retaliate now quickly is to throw the last remaining stuff that they have into Ukraine. So it's very dramatic at the moment. It's really scary at the moment, actually. Odessa hasn't been very scary because Odessa gets hit by strategic missiles once a day, and it's usually the port. So you know what's coming and going. Here, it's out of control. Here, um, what I've been told is, and what I've started to do is wait for the wind to start before I leave my house. You know, in Britain, we wait for the rain to stop and we wait for the wind to stop before we leave our house to go to the shops. Here, we wait for the wind to start because then the drones can't fly properly because it's windy, and that's when you leave the house to go and get your shopping. And the only way that you can walk down the street in Kherson right now, as I've just realized, is because the streets here are full of trees and they're all tree lined, and those trees are full of leaves, and it would entangle drones. The leaves are actively falling off those trees now as winter starts, and when the leaves fall off the trees, then everyone will be at risk. There's no cover. So the leaves are falling, which is scary, and the wind. It's just crazy. Like we were in a cafe. There's two cafes left, and we were waiting for the wind to pick up before we left. I've never experienced that in Kherson before or anywhere before in Ukraine. You're like relying on the oldest forms of nature to keep you safe, the tree leaves and the wind. Um, it's just completely bizarre. This is the most bizarre place I've been, you know?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I've not been in a war zone. You're the fellow who's brave enough to do this, and I'm sort of horrified, Caolan, but at the same time impressed. And I think you're
Well, it's
doing a very
important to
important
document
thing.
this.
Yeah, yeah, very, very, very important. And at the same time, you know, you're doing this at a time when uh, Zelensky is in the UN, has pointed out that you know the
Breaking
absurdity
up.
of talking to
Damn, I can't
Putin.
hear you.
Ah, can you hear me now?
What's happened here?
Can you hear me now? Caolan, have I lost you? Um, have I lost you? Oh God.